SPSN.
Welcome into a great interview here on the Scene Project Sports Network. Today, I am joined by executive and career coach, also statistician with ESPN, Kirk McCarley. Kirk, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bubba. Good to be with you.
Yeah, well, obviously, you work a lot in the sports field and have for some time, and you're an avid sportsman yourself, but you also help coach people too. So I thought having you over on the Sports Network was just the most comfortable fit for both of us.
And every now and then I'll coach a broadcaster along the way. Who knows?
Well, we all know that I need it, and at least any fan of the show. So appreciate you being with us today. Before we get too far into the conversation and everything that you got going on and coming up, I want to give you an opportunity to just give us a little bit of your backstory.
Well, person of faith, husband, father, grandfather. You talked about what I do vocationally. Besides that, I serve as a group exercise instructor. I coach people on spinning. I am an author, wrote a book about a year and a half ago, and really liked to connect with people. As a matter of fact, that's my key word this year. Last year it was move. This year it's connect. So I've set a goal to reach out to people that I've not talked to or intersected with for periods of time, talking about 6 months, a year, sometimes 5 years. And it's been real interesting, the kind of feedback I've gotten from that. Very rewarding for me, and I hope it has been for them as well.
And traditionally, that's what always made, reunions of any type a lot of fun, is reconnecting. We haven't always had the internet. We're obviously, elder statesmen and remember a time before the internet, but we're very much both of us online to a certain extent, and both community builders. I would say that, especially for you being in that spinning coaching space, that you're always kind of growing your own community.
I would just returned before we went live today with some men that I meet with on Thursday morning. They have a lot of wisdom to bring. We talk about things related to our faith beliefs, but also get into personal things, our marriages, our raising kids, our raising kids who are now adults and how we deal with that, life issues, the kinds of people that we surround ourselves with. One of the things that's a hot topic right now, I think about everywhere, is, and not to get political, but the Epstein files and the temptations that we face as men, who we surround ourselves with, the trips we take, the appearances to others. So all these things are benefits that I get from these connections, and how I soak up wisdom. Hopefully I can apply that in instances where I have that opportunity.
Do you find it, because of the physical nature of the spin classes, that you form deeper bonds with the men that are inside of that room?
Men and women, we're all there for the goal of getting into better physical condition. But a lot of the demographics that are there are people that are my age, maybe a little bit younger. So we share some things generationally. There's a lot of music involved, obviously, a choreograph that goes with that. And so one of the things that I really enjoy is the opportunity to comment on what's being played music-wise. That brings back memories, that stimulates thoughts, feelings, what we were thinking at that point in time, what we were dealing with, what was happening historically. So yes, that bond exists. And particularly as we're going through the ride and at the end of it, that feeling of accomplishment that we have achieved this in the company of other people that we share this commonality with.
I love spin classes. And to all of our listeners, if you have not tried one, I highly recommend you at least go and try it a few times. The first time's probably going to kick your butt, so you probably won't enjoy it very much. But go back 3 to 5 times and start to build a bond with not just your coach, but other people in the room. And what a joy it is. We're actually very fortunate in our small town here. Shout out to Psychopath Studios. Some ladies in our community were big fans themselves and got tired of having to drive 30 miles to go, and built a studio and started teaching classes. Very fortunate to live about a block away. Now, in the last year, we haven't been able to get in there as much as possible. My wife returned to school while still working full time, and I've been very busy building up our brand. But it's something that I know is there, and that I want to get back into to support not just another local business, but the community that's built inside of that room. So, but there's always, I was probably one of the only men, one of very few, especially when we were always there. So getting to know the ladies of all ages and different, levels of difficulty that we had, still a very small town, but getting to know people inside of the room, it was a very, I think, underrated part of going to spin class. Yes, it's about fitness, but that community bonds that you were forming, I found was really, really compelling.
I'm impressed, Bubba. That is a real coup for a community of 11 or 1200 to have a spin studio. For somebody like me that just adores that kind of workout regimen, that would be mecca for me to be in a community of that size just to the west of Yankton and to be able to participate in that.
Well, we absolutely love it. And they're big parts of the community, obviously giving back to a lot of the sports organizations. And they do tumbling classes for the kids as well. So yeah, shout out to the ladies at Psychopath for taking on the role of community builders, right? And I don't know that that was necessarily their mission as they were setting out. I have to believe that in some ways it was, but that it's done so much for our community to have that. And now we actually have another gym in town as well for fitness. And we're just, the people in this town are very active. And, we have a golf course that's right on the outside of town. There's always people that are outside biking around the pond and to do that. So to have a small community, and it's a big part of what keeps us here, right? We may live in a small town, but our small town has survived because it has entrepreneurs that are willing to invest into the small community, not necessarily to get rich, but to serve a purpose, right? And it's why we still have a grocery store here in town, which a lot of small towns don't. And we have a couple of a couple of bars, and we have our bowling alley, and we have the golf course, and we have these things here in town still that a lot of small towns just don't have the community bonds to grow that.
Let me go on record as saying that those who are listening and watching this podcast with Bubba and myself, if you're looking for a vacation destination this summer, Tyndall, South Dakota, put it on your map. You can go visit there. You can go see Bubba. You can spin up the road. You can go to the Corn Palace. What more can you want?
It really is a gem down here. And I used to, my in-laws, they tend to vacation right in Yankton. When they leave town, they go right down the road. And it's like, well, don't you ever want to go anywhere else? And it's like, why? I can go there on a Monday. Father-in-law is a farmer. And when my mother-in-law is now retired, so they can go down, get the good campsite right against the lake. It's one of the nicest campgrounds in all of South Dakota, one of the busiest for sure. And people are coming from all over the area to come here. So when you live close to a vacation destination spot, as we do, it actually makes life a lot easier. You're not having to make these long trips. You take a 30-minute drive down the road. You show up when nobody else is there. You get to enjoy 4 or 5 days in peace before the weekend settles in and all of the families are coming in and bringing the kids and the boats out. we're really blessed to live where we do. 10 minutes from the Missouri River, plenty of fishing and outdoor sports, plenty of biking trails for people like yourself that want to indulge in some pain. And you know what? Not too many hills, right? Just a few. Not like where I grew up on the western side of the state near Mount Rushmore, and where everywhere was uphill no matter what direction you went.
We were talking earlier, South Dakota offers so much. And by the way, I want to introduce viewers to the new head of the Tyndall Chamber of Commerce, and that's Bubba Starks. But aside from that, uh, we had talked a few days ago about my experiences in South Dakota, and I had an opportunity to work a game in Brookings, which is up I-29 from Sioux Falls, which is the largest city in South Dakota. But I experienced an atmospheric condition that is like none other that I've ever seen. No, it's not the Northern Lights, but this was working a game at South Dakota State at their stadium there. At halftime, I wandered out from the room that we were broadcasting from, looked over the western horizon. There were two suns, and I learned that that is a phenomenon known as a sundog, where the reflection of the sun will appear at a 22.5-degree angle from the actual sun. It was otherworldly for me to experience that. And 4 years ago, a memory associated with South Dakota that I will never forget. Not to diverge or deviate, but I wanted to plug that as we're talking about the attractions of South Dakota.
Yeah, well, and I think the South Dakota Board of Tourism might owe us a few dollars on this podcast episode. Shout out to a beautiful state, South Dakota State. I went to school there, albeit briefly, back in the early 2000s. Let's talk a little bit about your work with ESPN. I think that's so incredible that you've been making a career out of this. Obviously, you're very good at your job. You've given me stats about my hometown that I didn't even know. And you absolutely love numbers. And to make a career out of being the guy that helps produce the show behind it, I think anyone who's ever listened to a sports broadcast, especially on the radio, and you wonder how these broadcasters are able to come up with all of the numbers and the, things inside of the game. And it's not them sitting there noodling numbers. They're busy watching the game and digesting it. It's Kirk McCarley behind the scenes, crunching numbers and following along in the scorebook or in the history books to bring things out to light. How did you get into being a statistician?
Great question, Bubba. I'm going to plug the University of North Texas. I'm a native Texan. That's where I went to college. So I had a fascination with numbers prior to that as a young kid. And this is in the day before there were electronic calculators. I remember when Texas Instruments first came up with a digital calculator. It was just fascinating. But up to that point in time, if I wanted to figure out a proportion or a percentage, I had to do it longhand. And soon I began to memorize those numbers. It was talent that I brought with me on to college. Fast forward to that point in time. My college roommate was a broadcast communications major. The fella across the hallway from us in the house in which we lived, he also had a fascination with numbers. He was an IT guy, but he could spout a lot of statistical information as well. Down the hall was an individual who wrote for the campus paper. Eventually, he became the lead writer for the Dallas Cowboys for the Dallas Morning News, just recently retired from that. So back to my roommate, who was a broadcast communications major. He got a wonderful break early in his career. He was the first play-by-play radio announcer for the Dallas Mavericks when they got the expansion franchise in 1981. Later, as he was doing Southwest Conference Division I football games, that's a conference that disbanded 30 years ago, but we initially started with that. By he inviting me to join him in the broadcast booth to provide him with the statistical data that I had provided him with when we were college roommates way back then. We stayed with the Southwest Conference for several years till it disbanded. There was a new network that was birthed in 1996 called ESPN2, which seems hard to believe that it's been around for 30 years, particularly when there's so many ESPN affiliates now. So we merged in together on television. We were the first broadcast crew for football for that network. I stayed with him until he went on to another career calling to do Major League Baseball. I stayed with ESPN, and this year is my 37th season of doing this part time for not only college and NFL football, but for college basketball, men and women's, softball, and baseball.
Just incredible. And now you're taking that wealth of experience in the sports world and now bringing it into coaching for executives and others who are moving along in their careers. Talk about the transition that you made and when that kind of happened. Obviously, you're someone who likes to help people. So I feel like the inspiration has always been there to want to do this. But what was it about this kind of executive coaching that really grabbed you?
I had a real job besides doing ESPN. Not that that wasn't a real job, but that was supplementary for me. As a human resources person, I was an executive doing that, working with people, benefits, compensation, benefits, as I mentioned before, recruitment for about 35 years. Late in that career, I wanted to do something else to augment what I was doing with ESPN. I wasn't sure what that was. I hired a coach myself. And it was about the third meeting that I was having with that person that I had my aha breakthrough moment. And I said, I want to do what you're doing. So that journey, I embarked upon it. It's been about 10 years ago that I have gone out to do that. I focus in on career and executive coaching, which involves professional development, executive presence. But as I tell all my clients, life always intersects those areas. So I have had more fun, Bubba, these last 10 years getting to help people achieve their goals, to achieve maybe self actualization in some instances, but to fulfill some of the dreams that they have that my coach many years ago gave me the opportunity to do. And it has been highly rewarding. I'm having more fun with everything I'm doing professionally at a time that many said you should be retired. But if this is retirement living, I absolutely love it.
That's just awesome, Kirk. I absolutely love your passion for other people, not just in your professional career as a coach, but in the spin classroom and, out working on the broadcast teams. It's a very rewarding life that you have lived and that you continue to live now with retirement far off in the distance.
I call it refirement. Is that's new terminology. Now I draw retirement income from some of the organizations I've worked with in the past, but that sets a foundation for what it is that I really want to do. So between career coaching, executive coaching, ESPN, teaching spin classes, and also dabbled with writing a book a couple of years ago. So that was published in late 2024. Um, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, but I'm enjoying getting there.
Tell me more about the book, Kirk.
The book is called Thoughts for My Kids and Other People's Kids. I've got 2 kids, 7 grandkids. It's for them, but we're all somebody's kids from some point in time. So, how it came about is when I launched my business, established a website. What are some of the marketing tools I'm going to have? The biggest of which was I'm going to do a periodic blog. So I began blogging about every 2 or 3 weeks. These blogs accumulated, and I also had an opportunity to get an article, get a column in our local paper here that the publisher invited me to do that, and I obliged. After I've been doing that for a while, he encouraged me. He said, "Kirk, you ought to write a book." And I was like, okay. I read up on what it takes to write a book and learned that about 80% of people have a desire at one time in their life to be an author. Uh, 3%, less than 3%, actually execute that goal. Bubba, I've never been top 3% in anything. Here was my opportunity. Here was my chance. That was my motivation. I aligned with a self publishing organization, and this book ends up being a compilation of those blogs. What are these blogs about? Leadership, communications, executive presence. There are some faith stories that are built into that. And of course, sports, and in many instances, how sports relates to life. So these are about 77 blogs that are assembled together, and they make up about 350 pages. And it was a blast to do that. And I'm accumulating more of these blogs. So sometime next year, I think I'll get my feet wet again and go for volume 2, see what that looks like.
I love it. A great batch, an archive for the kids and of your writings, and what an incredible way to do it. I wrote a book of my own over the course of the winter break last year, and it really just came out of me. But I felt like I needed to share my experience of building our network, and now I need to start working on my second one. But I think there's some pieces that I'm still living right now before I'm ready to write it all and to get it all out. And I appreciate your creative life as well as the lived experience that you have. I love that you are collecting the information, but not just for yourself, but sharing it with others. I find that to be so beneficial in this day and age, that if we are not sharing our life and our experience, that then what are we here for? So absolutely love it, Kirk. Where can people find the book? Where can they find more about you and your coaching? And I'll let you get out of here. I'm sure you've got a busy day ahead of you.
Kirk McCarley. I'm on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Website is the seedsowercoach.com. And for the book, kirkmccarleyauthor.com. It can be obtained through your bookstores or through Amazon. Ingram Spark is a resource as well.
Kirk McCarley, thank you so much for taking some time for me today. And thank you for being part of the scene.
My pleasure, Bubba. I'm happy to connect and intersect with you.